Hello and welcome to Flory Models Kit View Time. Today we've got ICM's latest Ju-88. This is the A4 Trop version, okay, in 1/48 scale. Now we've seen quite a few different versions of this one come along, but this one took my eye purely because it's got that gorgeous sort of worm pattern on there and everything else. Very, very iconic aircraft. Lots of different versions of this one are out there now, and ICM have done a blinder on this. If you don't know about ICM, I've been championing them really for the last year since I got introduced to them properly working on their MiG-25, which still is my kit of last year. I thought it was fantastic, and as a company they've suddenly just exploded and they're bringing out exactly what we want. Fantastic detail at a really good price as well. So without further ado, having a look around the box, we say gorgeous box art on these ones. As you can see, Trop version with Torpedo. So he's dropping a Torpedo just down in there. It's a 1/48 scale. Kit number for this one is 48236. Okay, a little bit of blurb on the box. There isn't too much blurb on these, to be honest. It is available, and this is what we're saying about it. It's £25 available from the PM store. It's a bargain at that price, absolute bargain. So anyway, there's the other option for the markings as well, showing it with the standard sort of German splinter with the light blue underneath as well, right the way through. And as you can see, this is sealed completely. I have not seen in this, as with all my reviews, nor have I seen anybody else's review on it as well. Obviously, the thoughts are my own. Never do this with a brand new razor blade in your knife, because otherwise it just tends to slice through everything but the plastic. There we go. Right, in the box itself, no doubt. Usual thing ICM do with these is that they have a box within a box, which is quite a nice system. It makes it very, very sturdy, and that's why so it opens up and you get a top opening box just like this. And then down in here we have the instructions and our various parts. Okay, so starting off with the instruction book as always. We've got our decals, which we'll just get out of the way. Again, because we've said about this one has been done various different versions, obviously a lot of the parts you're not going to be using, and then they give you an extra sprue with them on. So obviously different props to this one. So just keep an eye out exactly where you're going. You might want to tick them off your actual sprues before you get started to stop any confusion. Okay, so moving through, as we can see, usual thing, straight into the fuselage section. As we said before, it is a lovely detailed kit. So we've got some nice details down inside the actual cockpit area on the side panels. We've got the seats going in, we've got the bulkheads, we've got the cooling fans, things like that. Definitely full of detail inside and out this particular kit. Exactly the same for the other side, working on the other one, and then obviously bringing the two halves together once you've got the tail wheel in. The bottom system has this very nice way that the wing section mates up with it, with an underbelly system onto this one. Again, multiple seats for the crews being fitted down into those as well. And then obviously they're being fitted down in there, and then obviously forward and reverse facing seats for the gunner's position. And then I said lovely detail down in here with the actual scissor system for the actual seats as well. Okay, and then obviously mating this up is going to join up underneath. Control surfaces are all posable as well, so obviously putting those all together with or without glue, depending if you want them to be sort of semi-working or you just want to fix them into one position. Wings, simple, two halves going together. Okay, then obviously fixing it all in there, as you might imagine, straightforward, no problem at all. This is what we're saying about this overlap wing system, which gives you a far nicer area, and also it makes wing alignment a lot easier as well on this one. All right, so then fitting on the control surfaces, and we've got the flaps going down in there, rudder as well, as we said, fully posable. Then we're working our way for the sort of the gondolas underneath. That section being fitted down in there just like that. Huge robust gear system on this one, very well thought out, and it goes through in there, fits in there lovely. And then this is for me one of the sort of things that makes this kit: fully detailed engine. And again, we're talking about a kit which is going to cost you 25 quid, so it's a complete bargain. So all you're going to need really is perhaps a little bit of plumbing, a little bit of wiring in there to liven it up, and you're going to end up with something literally very, very punching above its weight, shall we say, for the price. So there we go, fitting those engines down into there. Again, you're going to have to open them up to get the full beauty of them, but you can have them open or closed if you wanted to, with a little bit of modifications to the cowls and things like that. Engine nacelles then being fitted down into around the gear sections in those just like that. Then it's all the bits and pieces going onto this one, so it's all the glass work going in the front end of it, the props going through there, obviously the top glass being fitted down there with forward and rear facing guns onto this one. Okay, and then obviously the gondola underneath there with the gun being fitted, and then the sight out the front. Then you're working for the torpedo for this particular version. Okay, so the torpedo being fitted down into this one. And then obviously having the racks each side down in the inner wing ports, just like that. Tail sections obviously go through with the actual doors, and then the same for the main gear as well. And then we've got the final glass work for the rear gunner positions as well, with both those twin guns being fitted to the rear part. And then you end up with your completed model. Again, really very nice. Stencil data, pretty much as you'd expect right the way through. And then obviously you've got your markings down in here. So we've got basically Italy 43. We've got Italy late 42 for obviously around the Med, and then we've got this one down in here which is southern France in 44 with the sort of worm camo right the way over it. So if anybody fancies a little bit of a challenge, that's where you're going to go. Really the things I like about this camo though is the way that they've actually done the research, so it shows it have gone over the top of the actual crosses on the sides of them as well. Alright, so very, very nicely done. Then we've got your decals. Which you might imagine if we have a quicker look on the close-up. ICM decals are pretty good, to be honest, no problem at all with these. They're always usually nicely in register, and on the finer details down in there you can actually see it has actually got wording in there. It's not generic blurb, it's very, very nice as well, and then the markings, no problems at all with those. So again, like we were saying, you do get a lot of plastic for your money. It's real good bang for your buck with all the detail you get in here. Then you get beautiful plastic. Again, one giant bag with it all in. We've got a separate one for the clear parts. And then down in here, we have the clear parts, which we'll look at last. Okay, and then if we just pop this over. So if we basically have a look round on these as we go through. So having a look at the close-up, you can see fine recessed details right the way through as we would expect. And then obviously for the under part of the wing you can see again. So we've got no riveting detail on this one, but we've certainly got all the panel lines and access panels ports as you would imagine. Beautiful clean molds as well down on the inside with these. Very, very nicely done indeed. Again, good, clean, sharp plastic. No real sign of sink marks. There is the tiny little bit of flash sometimes you get on these, but honestly we're talking pretty being picky on this. But generally, as you can see, the quality of the plastic and everything is very nice. It's that softer plastic, but actually it's got very nice details. And again, there's no real sink marks in this that I've spotted on previous reviews we've done. And then obviously we're getting into the guts of it down in here. So if we have a bit of a closer look around, as you can see, we've got all the various parts. Again, can be because of the plastic's a little bit softly molded, a little bit of flash here and there, but generally you can see these small parts at the top. Some very, very nice details. Again, with the gear, beautifully done. Those flaps, the control surfaces, as you can see on all of these parts, they are very, very nicely detailed right the way through. And even on the blind side with these, with the moulding, ejector pins are very, very small and to a minimum, and you'll never find them on the smaller parts either. So very nicely done on that. This one down in here is for the engine, and it's actually a match pair for this one. So you've actually got two of these just like this. So if we just have a look at one as we make our way round. So as you can see, again, all the smaller components very, very nicely and crisply done on sprue E here. So again, the engines, we've got the two engine halves, gives you an idea. Again, they're not the sharpest, we're not talking some resin beauty or something else like that, but it's a start. So if you wanted to, again, just adding a little bit of detail to this one will actually pay dividends on it. And then working its way around, so obviously we've got the machine gun ones and the machine guns themselves right the way through. Bombs obviously depending on versions you're doing, but we do get two of these, and again, very nicely done. This little guy down here, sprue G, so we've got some more of the guns. These are the cooler intakes, and then more guns on the back. You can see they're very, very nicely done, very nicely detailed on all of those. Okay, big old sprue, so we've got the engine nacelles down in here, and again, these props aren't going to be used, you're going to be using the other ones, but generally just making sure, because these nacelles you're not using, but you are using some of the other areas on it. So if we just have a flash round, so down in here, as you can see, we've got the floor sections and all these areas. So we've got the tyres looking very nicely done, the doors and the other areas. We'll look at the other nacelles properly, And then again, on the insides of these doors, we don't have any ejector pins down in those, but we have on these. But these, fear not, don't open anyway. These will be in the closed position, so you're not going to actually see those anyway. The ones that matter is these smaller ones down in here, and obviously we've got no ejector pins in those at all. So again, very, very nicely detailed on those. This is the replacement sprue, which obviously brings this up to the Trop version. So down in here we've actually got the different props, completely different. These are the big fat ones, and obviously the different engine nacelles on this as well. So again, looking at the prop areas, you can see it up in here. A little bit of flash, tiny bit on there. Easy clean up with those. Okay, different rudder system. The biggest difference is the actual engine nacelles themselves, because obviously being the Trop version, it's got a few little extra bumps and cooling areas and things like that onto these ones. And again, looking very nice right the way through. Cowl flaps down on here for showing those open. Again, insides of these, there's no real detail because you're not going to see anything in there anyway, because the engine's going to fill it up. So again, round engine with a square, hold on, so we're talking, it's a square hole, it's a round hole with a square engine in it. Different way of doing it. Okay, so down in here, we've got the actual last sprues down here with the actual main fuselage, the wing sections, the underbelly, things like that. Very, very nice indeed. So looking at the actual fuselage first, again, nicely detailed. Some various things going on with this one. Again, you're just going to have to be a little bit mindful of things like this underneath, having these moulded in already. They're just an accident waiting to happen. As you can see, we've got a little bit of flash on them as well. Would have preferred to see that as a separate, I think, really, because it's going to end up getting knocked off. And also, the problem you're going to have with that one is obviously the seam work in this is trying to get in to fill it. So if you had any filler or gaps down in here, you can't get in there to do it. So you're going to end up cutting those off anyway and going through the motions of it. So I can't really see the point of that one. The control surfaces, we said before, they're very nicely done down in here. And this little guy is gorgeous, gives that end aside between the wings there. Very nicely done. And obviously you've got your bomb areas on those. And then up here at the front, you've got the actual instrument panel, the rear bulkhead for the radios, things like that in there. And some of the other areas as well. Very nicely done indeed. Again, blind side we were talking about down in here, you've got some of the details, but you'll be adding to that with more of the stuff that's structural from the inside. Rest of it is devoid because you don't see any of it anyway. Last up, obviously, two of these, we've got the actual torpedoes, which again, mini models literally on their own. Again, beautifully detailed with the veining and all the different parts of this one. And then obviously we've got the sway braces over here for the actual bomb rack itself, was when it's fitted down there between the engine and the main fuselage as well. Very, very nice indeed. And again, two of those. So last up, we've got the clear parts. So clear parts. ICM, don't fail me now, usually are extremely nice, and they haven't failed me. Thank you. So clear parts, you can see these are really silly clear. Okay, these down here, it's a very complex moulding system on that, so you're always going to get distortion. You could even get distortion on the real thing. Okay, but you see the other ones, we've got the different fronts on here. So obviously you've got the one with a gun, the one without, again, making sure you've got the right versions. Side windows, the main frame itself. Again, very nicely done. And then the other versions of it down here. Like we said, there's multiple versions of this one, so a lot of this glass work you're not going to be using, so just be mindful of that when you're doing it. And there we go. It is absolutely stunning and beautiful. And to be honest, ICM now are just there. They're as good as Meng, they're as good as like Tamiya stuff and everything else. They've come leaps and bounds in the last few years of producing absolutely amazing kits. I have to say, I've never ever built a Ju-88 in my life. Over the last 20 odd years being a professional full-time model maker, I have never built one, which is criminal really, but I have to say, if I was to build one, it would be an ICM 148 scale one. Not only do you get a fantastic build with no problems at all as far as I can see, but also for £25 it's a bargain. You get engine details in there, a little bit of scratch building in there, a little bit of wiring work as well. We'll take that kit to be literally a 75 quid kit of anybody's money. So again, I'm sure the aftermarket guys will be on this one with colour photo etchings like that, just to liven it up a little bit more, and you'll be good to go with it. I have to say, it's highly recommended. If you're a Luftwaffe fan or just love World War II bombers in general, it's going to be your go-to kit and a total must-have, and comes highly recommended. you.